Here on NewsNation Prime, we have been focusing on the troubling crime in Chicago. And one tragic case in just the last 2 weeks is the shooting of two little girls sitting in the back seat of their dad's car in the middle of the afternoon. 7-year-old Serenity was shot in the chest and she was killed. Her 6-year-old sister Aubrey was also shot. She is now at home recovering. These little babies were hugging each other when this happened. This is just one instance of senseless violence, and it has us wondering, how does the city stop it? What can we do? And it's not up to just one person or one organization. Everyone plays a role. In the last 7 days, take a look, 21 people have been murdered, up 91% from this same time last year. Police have investigated another 77 shooting incidents. Cities across the country have tried turning to technology to help combat and respond to shootings. One of those tools is something called Shotspotter. It's a sensor device that claims it can detect and locate gunfire in less than 60 seconds and then send that information straight to responding officers. Right now, 119 cities across the country, big and small, are using Shotspotter. The company claims that it contributes to fewer shootings, citing success stories in Oakland and Cincinnati and Miami. But a new report from Chicago's Office of Inspector General says it's not working here. It's not doing what it's supposed to. The report looked at data from January of 2020 to May 31st of this year, and we want to show you what they found. 50,000 Shotspotter alerts went out. The actual evidence of a gun-related crime was found just 9% of the time. And at the same time, the number of shootings, unfortunately, are climbing. 44 people were shot over the weekend. 7 were killed. Now, Deputy Inspector General Deborah Weitzberg says it might be time to change. Look for another option. Deborah is joining us now to help us better understand exactly what is happening with crime in this city and also what is next. Deborah, we appreciate you joining us. I want to talk about Shotspotter here in a moment and what we do about this, but I can't help but think about those two little girls and what their families are going through. And it's just one instance of innocent people being caught in the crossfire of this crime that is happening across this great city. The emotional toll it is taking on so many departments is evident. Last week, they laid to rest a Chicago police officer who was shot in the line of duty. I'm curious, you've lived in this city for the last number of years, since 2005. What is the impact on you personally and what you're seeing?
Violent crime is a crisis in Chicago, and it affects all of the members of Chicago's communities. And we at the Office of Inspector General view our role as ensuring that the city and its departments, including its police departments, are best serving the people of Chicago in uniform and out. That is to say that we are doing all we can do to keep both members of the police department and members of the public safe.
Before I move on, where does the responsibility fall? Because a moment ago I said it's not on one person, it's not on one group, but ultimately something has to happen and it has to start somewhere. In your mind, where does that begin?
The police department and the city owe Chicagoans and members of the Chicago Police Department sound policy and effective operations.
All right, so those two, are they doing enough? Why not?
We think that there are ways in which the police department could operate more effectively. One of those ways would be to make better informed sort of cost-benefit assessments of the tools that the police department uses in its effort to fight violent crime. ShotSpotter is, as you say, one of those tools. And our report today, we hope that the information we report will better inform decision makers and stakeholders to do that cost-benefit assessment.
I want to share with folks at home what Tom Ahern, the deputy director of Chicago Police, said about ShotSpotter. In his words, he said, in order to reduce gun violence, knowing where it occurs is crucial. ShotSpotter has detected hundreds of shootings that would have otherwise gone unreported. You say it's not working, so help us understand why this particular piece of technology isn't doing what it's supposed to here.
I want to be clear in saying we do not take the position that there is no value to the use of Shotspotter. What we aim to do in this report is to look at what the Chicago Police Department's own data tells us about ShotSpotter's operational value. And what we find is that only very rarely does a ShotSpotter alert lead to the recovery of evidence of a gun-related crime. I appreciate the department's accounting, and I take them at their word that these alerts have led to, the discovery of hundreds of shootings. We're talking about hundreds of shootings in the context of more than 50,000 ShotSpotter alerts and a $33 million price tag.
Is this unique to Chicago? Because there are stories of success. For example, in Oakland, ShotSpotter led police to 101 victims when no one called 911. In Miami, homicides dropped 35% in a 3-year period. So is Chicago not using the tool right? What more could we be doing?
I think it's really hard to draw causal connections between a single tool and a drop in crime rates. And so I would caution around, I would exercise caution around sort of that analysis. I think in thinking about the successes of ShotSpotter, it's really important to be clear on the fact that there are two separate parts of this conversation. There's a conversation about ShotSpotter's technological accuracy, that is how good the technology is at identifying the sound of a gunshot and in discerning that sound from the sound from another loud sound, for example, a firework or something similar. We're not speaking to the question of technological accuracy. I leave that question to others. What we are looking at here is operational value. How valuable as a law enforcement tool is this information, even if it's accurate all of the time?
If not ShotSpotter, though, Deborah, what is a better option?
I think that a meaningful and effective crime fighting strategy is made up of a lot of components: sound policy, good training, active community engagement, and responsible and examined use of technology would certainly be part of that strategy.
Well, it is one tool that I know you and so many others continue to look for a solution to a problem that is plaguing this city and has for a while. Deborah, we appreciate your time. Come back.
Thanks for having me.